The 147th edition of the Roy's Boys podcast starts right now.
Carolina basketball family is the strongest there's ever been, there ever will be.
Eight up freehand, King rights the ball. Pushes into Hubert Davis. 8 seconds. Davis trying to get free. Over to Fox. Fox, baseline. Up for the shot, dive off the glass. Oklahoma calls timeout, but the game is over. The game is over. Carolina has upset number 1 Oklahoma. Been ready on his second attempt. That one is no good. They battle for it. Loose ball. Recovered by Vinny.
With 20 seconds left to play, goes back to Michael Jordan. Jumper from out on the left. Good! 63, 62, 13, 12, 11. Georgetown with one timeout. Brent Brown looking. Throw away to Worthy. 35. The Tar Heels are going to win the national championship. Carolina with foul. He takes the timeout. Technical foul. Technical foul.
Brown gets it into Williams. Here comes Williams front court. Williams on the drive. Gets it back out the head. Long outside shot. Short rebound. It's over. And how about the Tar Heels? They are the national champions.
The Tar Heels are the national dadgum champions.
And that's what it takes when you big time games. You got to compete. You do it with your brain, and you got to do it with your heart too. And that's pretty doggone good.
From QCBroadcasting.com, this is the Roy's Boys podcast with your host, Josh Marlow. Hey everybody, welcome into another edition of the Roy's Boys podcast. We are powered by Carolina Electrical Services. It's been a while since me and Anthony got on here and talked to you guys, but you'll be hearing from us a lot in the coming weeks and months, because as of the night that we are recording this episode, we're 2 weeks away from basketball season. Unbelievably, or believable or not, we are right around the corner from Carolina trying to come back and make us forget about that travesty that was that 2019-20 season where they went 14-19. It's been a very long off season. It's been a very weird off season. Yesterday we just got ACC schedule, a full non-conference schedule. Today the ACC released all the preseason predictions, awards, and whatnot, which means the season is finally here. And Anthony, it's we've had a lot of fun and a lot of headache dealing with the Tar Heels on the side of football things. Right now they said 5-2, massive game against Wake Forest this Saturday. And we've been really occupied with the Tar Heel football program, but now we're about to get really busy because we got football and basketball to give our focus to.
Yeah, they're going to overlap for about 2 weeks. And then, of course, we'll see what Carolina does bowl game-wise. But this is usually the most exciting time of the year. This year, it's a little bit different because, things have sort of snuck up on us pretty quick. Everything with COVID-19 still has people a little on edge. You're still a little uneasy, in terms of when games are going to get played because you just don't know. Some of these games that are scheduled may not get played, and that's just part of it. That's just how it's going to work. But it's good to get back to this point where we can talk about some Carolina basketball. There's a lot of optimism around this team coming off of last year. The thing that you said in the off season that ended up becoming true was the fact that there were a lot of people that were wondering if this team would have some extra motivation coming into this year after what we saw last year. A lot of the guys have backed that up. They guess Coach Williams is very fired up about this season, and that he thinks this is a big opportunity for Carolina. And, you look at the ACC as well, and the ACC, seems like it's a little open. I think Virginia is still a big favorite in a lot of people's minds, but, there's no guarantee that Virginia is going to come out and just run the table and go nuts. I mean, they're not a team that we're looking at in the preseason and saying, okay, this is a team that is the number one team in college basketball and should win the national title easily. They're a good basketball team, but there's still a lot of opportunity there. So I think there's a lot to be encouraged with here for Carolina, and it'll all get started on November 25th at home against the College of Charleston.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll dive right into the schedule. We'll start with the non-conference portion of Carolina's slate. And due to the season being pushed back because of COVID and college basketball really trying to figure out how to handle playing in the pandemic, the non-conference season got shortened, and it's already gotten shortened after last year when the ACC moved from 18 conference games to 20. Well, now you're still playing 20 ACC games, but you lost 2 weeks of the regular season, so you've lost about 2 to 3 games. So instead of having 10 or 11 games to get ready for ACC play, Carolina's got 7, and it's not an easy 7 games to play. They get a good opener. They get the College of Charleston at home in the Smith Center, but the last time that Carolina played the College of Charleston at home it wasn't a very easy win. It was the year after they actually lost down in the College of Charleston to Bobby Crimson's squad. So this is it'll be a good test for Carolina. You go from there. You go straight to the Maui Invitational, and y'all can't see, but I use the
Maui Invitational of Asheville.
Yeah, which is in Asheville. And the thing is that Carolina is going to be expected to win the tournament. They're going to be favored to win the tournament. Last time we got on here, we kind of broke the tournament down. But Carolina's going to have 1 game before they go to Maui. Usually you've got at least 3 or 4. You're on the way to finding out, who you can play, who you cannot, and you're about to go play 3 games in 3 days with 1 game under your belt. It's also something you got to remember. You have no late night with Roy, no secret scrimmages. You had none of the regular preseason amp up for a team that has a lot of expectations with a lot of youth, and they got to go play in one of college basketball's biggest tournaments in the holiday season.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not going to be easy. The good news is that I think, your first game for sure against UNLV is a game that you think you should win. Unfortunately for Carolina, that's always been one of those weird teams that's given Carolina a lot of trouble. And then after that, you could face a rematch with a team in Alabama that you saw last year and handled pretty easily, or you could play one of the more exciting teams in college basketball this year as an up-and-comer in Stanford and Gerard Haas, one of your former assistants. And then, of course, on the other side, what lurks is probably, just from looking at it, I think there's 3 teams that you have a possibility of: Texas, Indiana, or Providence. It's going to be one of those 3. Of course, you are praying to God that you do not draw Texas, because that seemed to be, that one of the thorns in your side. So it's tough. It's going to be a really tough start for Carolina. We're going to find out what this team is made of relatively quickly. But, I think that there's nothing you can do about it. You can't really come out, and I know there'll be a lot of people that'll probably complain about the slate. This is just part of it. This is how college basketball is going to work this year. And like you said, to be really honest with you, maybe they might have had 1 or 2 more games before this. So, we're not really sure that they would have been able to get into a rhythm. Maybe this is the best thing for them. Maybe by having to jump right into a rhythm, it sort of puts some urgency on them instead of letting them, settle in against some lesser opponents like they did last year, to which they struggled out of the gate and really just could never recover from there after those, the slow starts against Wilmington and
Elon, Gardner-Webb. The list went on and on for how bad this team struggled in these kind of games. No, I think you're right. I think it's kind of twofold, because Roy Williams and this program, if there's a program that needs 10 or 11 games to find out who they are, it's been Carolina, because he wants to tinker as much as he can before the ACC games start piling up. But I also think it's why practice was so important for this team this year. That's why they've owned up the fact that this wasn't a normal offseason where it wasn't a lot of fun. And, yeah, you had some former pros come by a few weeks ago, but they were there to get you better, because you've got a short season to really erase what we went through last year, both individually as players, coaches, and thus us as fans that have to deal with them or had to react to it. So, but it'll be definitely interesting to see. I think Adam Lucas said it best, is that we as fans entering the season, we have to have expectations that it's going to be ragged play. They're going to be a good team. They're going to be a competitive team to watch, but there's going to be some up and downs that come with watching the team play, because the season is going to ebb and flow. You've seen it with college football. You saw it with Major League Baseball. You've seen it with the NFL, where games are going to get postponed. They're going to get canceled due to COVID. We've got to enter that season with the mindset that it's not always going to be pretty, but at least we have basketball.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. And, the schedule is It's kind of along the same lines. I would think that you look at it. I don't think there's any areas where you have an extended layoff to where you're really feeling like you're going to be inconvenienced. You're also not feeling overwhelmed where there are games, 3 games in a week or whatever. I mean, I feel like Carolina, for the most part, gets a pretty solid schedule to work off of. I think, you look at that early part of the season again. I mean, that's the thing. You've got Maui, you've got the Big Ten ACC Challenge where you got to go on the road at a very good Iowa team. That's going to be a really good test for you inside early in the season against a guy in Luka Garza who a lot of people think is probably the favorite for Player of the Year coming in. And then you've got that neutral court game in the CBS Classic against Ohio State. And in between there, you've got home games against Elon and the opener against the College of Charleston. Those are your easy games, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Then you're going into conference. So, I mean, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how quickly they can sort of get into a groove. But, at the same time, I mean, we're going to find out, what we're going to think about this team pretty quickly. I mean, that's the good thing is that we're not going to have to wait like last year and have a couple of those games where, okay, well, we struggled, but we still won. No, this year you're going to know exactly what this team is by the time that they start conference play.
Yeah, the trip to Iowa City will be tricky. Carolina hasn't played up there since 1988. The last time they played Iowa was in the ACC Big Ten Challenge, and they lost at home in the Smith Center. That was the night that Carolina greened out the arena, and it just looked excessively weird, and they got beat, and it was an ugly loss. And what was on to a very frustrating year for the Tar Heels. Then they got Elon at home. That's kind of Carolina and Roy Williams taking care of a small school during the pandemic, as they do. Whether you have COVID-19 or not, they're going to play small schools from the state of North Carolina to help them out. And it's a good chance for Carolina to get a little bit better and learn a little bit better about themselves. That Iowa State game, or the Ohio State game, that's a measuring stick for Carolina. Ohio State's going to be a trendy pick in the Big Ten. They're going to be a trendy pick to probably make the Final Four. That program's done a really good job under Chris Holtmann, being nationally relevant again for the first time since Thad Matta had that school playing in national title games. But it's going to be the CBS Sports Classic, always a very weird event. It's in Cleveland, Ohio this year, which makes it even weirder. I think it was supposed to be in either Chicago, but due to COVID, they had to relocate. But I think you said something that was right. Carolina's got really 5 games depending on who they are. Then you get in the ACC play. You get the 2 gimmies against College of Charleston and Elon, but there's no such thing as gimme in 2020, and you've got a very young team this year. You're not going to probably have a full capacity crowd that will be, playing behind you. So there's not going to be games where Carolina can take games off or take nights off. They got to come prepared.
We talked about aren't even guaranteed.
Yeah.
There's games. Let's say there's postponements of other games. Those 2 games will be the ones that are removed. If Iowa has to get postponed, they'll remove Elon and just play, switch the schedule around from there. That's how that's going to go. So with nothing being guaranteed, every game you've got to be able to get better. This is not a year where you could say, we just had an off night. You're not. It sucks, but unfortunately, you can't really have off nights because every game's going to matter this year.
Right. And so then let's go ahead and break down the ACC part of the schedule because, as I mentioned leading into it, it's not an easy slate for Carolina. And the way scheduling works, it's not like in football or like in the NFL where you play where you finished in your division. That you don't have that. But Carolina was 14-19 last year, 6-14 in the ACC, and they've still got a very tough slate in 2020, 2021. They start off at NC State and at Georgia Tech. The game at NC State's the first time they've opened up conference play at the Wolfpack since 2005-2006 season. That's also the last time Carolina only played 27 regular season games, which they're going to do, of course, at maximum this year before the ACC and NCAA tournaments. We know the deal with State. It's never easy going there and winning. And to start off ACC play with that kind of emotional game is going to be a challenge for a team that doesn't get a chance to work up that. Normally you get a few ACC games, you get into an ACC rhythm to then prepare yourself to going into that setting. You don't get that this year. Then you go to Georgia Tech. That's never been an easy place to go and win. Georgia Tech isn't great, but they came into your building last year and beat you and had you down 30-6. Josh Pastner's proven to be a quality head coach at the ACC level. And starting off with back-to-back road games isn't isn't easy for a team that's going to be very young entering the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think that starting with NC State's kind of interesting because you can look at it the way that you looked at it, which was that you have to build up to